the bit about recruitment, and I
Yeah,
think it's a topic worth exploring, isn't it? Because we obviously had some outgoings this summer. The two major ones being Elliot Anderson and Connor Taylor going back to their parent clubs. And look, I don't think anyone expected us to be able to replace Anderson. He's clearly shown now that he's of a different level of player to one that should be anywhere near Bristol Rovers or League One. But Connor Taylor, I think, fair play to him. He's playing at Stoke in the Championship now, but I still think we could have replaced, and you never know. I mean, with Gibson, we may have found a replacement there.
yeah,
But yeah, I made a little list of our signings and how I think they've done this year, and it's quite grim reading, to be honest, mate. If I go through it, you've had Marquis, I put down as poor. I don't think he's really done
yeah.
anything. He's got one goal for us, hasn't looked that dangerous, hasn't offered much. Gordon, I had this on the line. I said it's almost too early to call, but also pretty much ineffectual. Do you know what I mean? That he hasn't really done much. Rossiter, when he hasn't been injured, I think he's been poor again.
Yeah.
I think he hasn't offered anything different in that midfield. It's almost like you're playing a poor man's Paul Coots in there, and I haven't been impressed. Gibbons has been injured. Coburn obviously is injured. Connolly's done okay when he played, but he's been injured for the majority. Gibson injured, and then Jasper Thomas and McCormick. It's too early to tell. So, by all accounts, mate, it's a pretty poor window so far. If it continues in
Yeah.
that vein, you got to say that it's not been good recruitment at all. Like, it's very rare that you start a season and not one of your new transfers hits the ground running or does well. And that's the case for us. I just think, is Barton to blame for this, or is it just bad luck?
Um, I think it's a bit of both, mate, to be honest. I know we spoke about this a while ago and we both gave the window a 6 out of 10.
Mm.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, and with that in mind, it would probably be a bit less now. Maybe we'll be proven wrong when players return, but yeah, it does seem like a very poor window that we had. I'm not sure if we're going to bring in another free agent. I know there were talks of that which have kind of not really gone anywhere, so that's slightly disappointing. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird one for me. I seem like there's a bit of persistence to start roster at the beginning of the season, which I was kind of surprised at considering how poor he was on the first game of the season. Um, yeah, it's still, I guess, with some of those injured players, it's also very very early to judge. And so I think it's you've got to give Barton's maybe a little bit of the benefit of doubt.
Mm.
Um, in that regard. But it's I don't think we made things easy for ourselves in that respect. We left our business way too late. I can understand with Maka with the fee that we paid, etc. That played out over a longer period of time, but it took us a while, and also the fact that Barton said he wanted to sign was it 7 players and went down to 6 and went down to 5
Yeah.
before we even signed some new players. So we didn't help ourselves, and therefore you could say, well, the depth wasn't there to deal with an injury crisis. So um, maybe on reflection, Barton is to blame a little bit more. But it's yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said, mate. It's still fairly early doors. We're not well, we're nearly a quarter into the season, so I guess maybe a third of the season through is 15 games, so maybe better to judge it then. But I'm not too sure, to be honest. I'm not really getting my hopes up with a couple of these signings.
Yeah. 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 I think for me, look, if our defenders come back in and perform well, then, that will bump up the ratings of the window a bit for me. But, I think one area which I don't think it matters about players really coming back, to be honest. We obviously have Coburn to come back.